To the Middle East now, and more than 50,000 people have been killed in the Gaza Strip since the war began. That's according to the territory's Hamas-run Health Ministry. The statistics issued at midday on Sunday also reported that 41 people had been killed in the past 24 hours. It came as the Israeli army launched a ground offensive in southern Gaza. The Israelis have blamed Hamas for abandoning the ceasefire which had been in place since January. Meanwhile, Hamas says one of its senior leaders has been killed by an Israeli airstrike in southern Gaza. Salah al-Baradawi was killed in Yuniseh in the early hours of Sunday. Israel has not yet commented on the strike. He was the vice chair of the Hamas Political Bureau and had previously acted as a spokesperson for the group. Well, our Middle East correspondent Amir Nada is in Jerusalem and updated us on those figures that have been released by the Hamas-run Health Authority. It's a bleak milestone in this war. We don't have a breakdown of those figures, but we know from previous reports that around two-thirds of those who've been killed in the 17-month war in Gaza have been women and children. The figures don't also break down the number of fighters versus civilians, but what we do know is that many bodies, including the United Nations, believe that these figures issued by the local health ministry in Gaza are considered reliable. A report of the number of bodies brought into hospitals and deaths, counted by local health officials, and at times the health officials there have issued lists of all of those who've been recorded dead, including their names and ID numbers on the Israeli side. We have heard accusations before from Israel of Hamas in inflating or exaggerating the figures. Israel is accused, has claimed that it's killed around 177. Hamas fighters, though it hasn't released its own methodology or data, but we have also seen some experts who've said that the figures issued by the health authorities in Gaza may indeed be a huge undercount, pointing to the fact that the health sector in Gaza has been massively debilitated. There's been many hospitals have closed down, so the ability for hospitals to register deaths has been massively debilitated throughout the war. And also bodies like the United Nations have suggested that there may be at least 10 people who've died, who've been killed, who are trapped under the rubble of bodies, under the rubble of buildings and emergency services. They haven't been able to retrieve them and indeed registered them. So yes, not an exact science, the accounting, but indeed the best figures we have, and gives us pause to think about the past 17 months of war. Well, Dr. Mohammed Abu Masip is the deputy medical coordinator for the MSF. He described what he was witnessing on the ground in Masasi in Gaza. There is a ground operation in Rafah, which is close to Masasi, so we can hear shooting from time to time and heavy shelling. We can see as well displaced people from RA coming to Al-Masi. There's hundreds of people coming from this area which is under evacuation order, and they are coming to Masi and trying to find a place to shelter. And what forms of shelter are there at the moment? Unfortunately they have, nothing. They took the people who went actually to RA Tel Sultan back during the siege. They took their tents, they removed their tents from Malaysia, and they went back to Rafah. So now they were obliged to evacuate Rafah without anything. So they left their tents, their mattresses, so they are just without nothing. They're just their personal belongings with them. And you've been talking to them. How do they feel at the moment? The people are really exhausted. The population, all are exhausted in Gaza. The situation since more than 5 days. Under severe tensed airstrikes, bombing. There are evacuation orders. Since the beginning of the war, they are moving from one place to another. There is blockage on the humanitarian aids. Since 3 weeks, there is no supplies entering Gaza. So it's Ramadan time, and as you know, Ramadan month, and there is no food entering, there is no water, there is no supplies entering. To Gaza, since 3 weeks, the situation is really very difficult. People are really totally exhausted. The population are totally exhausted.